my first deal, I brought in 2.75 right off the rip.
Holy cow. If you think you could love this business, then that's what will come of it. Because when you love what you do, work is play, you never work another day in your life, and you are passionate about it. Sending them articles about why this business is fantastic. You're educating them and building that trust and respect.
You're never going to do anything. So, step off that ledge and take action. I make more money in my multifamily investments than I do in any. People drive by an apartment comp, they just assume some big, huge corporation owns it. And that is just regular guys like, me and my partners.
Welcome back to Multifamily Rockstars. So as you guys know, these are the episodes where we dive deep into our guest deals and give you some practical and actionable items for getting started in the business, even if you're brand new, even just to do your first deal. And today we've got some an interesting topic to go over with our guest today. And I've got my co-host Mark Nagy with me here as usual.
Yeah, what's going on, Rod? I was going to say there's a couple of things I think reading through his bio that I don't know if we've ever talked about before that should be interesting to get into.
Awesome. Well, we've got Mike Olson. Mike Olson's a realtor, has done and real estate home inspector, and has got Rookie of the Year in real estate sales, and joined our Warrior program back in 2023, and now is involved in 342 units in Charleston and Columbia. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thank you, Rod. First off, I just want to say thank you very much for having me, and hello to you too, Mark.
Yeah, good seeing you again.
Awesome. Well, why don't you give us some background on you, buddy? Give us a little of your story.
Yeah, I have been in residential real estate for a little over 20 years. Started out as a licensed home inspector, did about 1,800 inspections before I decided that crawling around in the crawl spaces with all of the snakes, rats, and spider webs and mold wasn't for me anymore. So I pivoted into full-time sales, and I've been doing that for about 18 years. And about a year and a half ago is when I decided to kind of pivot a little bit, because I knew that the commission changes were coming in residential real estate. And, I've been doing it for, 20 years, and I love, making dreams happen and selling people homes, but I just really wanted to get into something new and a little bit more challenging. So dove into your program back in 2023.
Yeah. So just as an aside, talk about briefly what happened with the real estate commissions, because there was a big lawsuit with NAR, correct? And can you just speak to that for a moment?
Yeah, and actually, we have an excellent broker that is kind of ahead of the times, and he bases everything on California, because anything that kind of happens in California starts moving our way to the West Coast over here.
Well, let's hope they keep those rent controls, but other than that, yes. But anyway.
Yeah, but what I mean as far as California removed those, buyer side commissions quite a while ago. So now the sellers have the option to actually pay or not pay. Not that they didn't have that, but, it's just not pressed on them as much as it used to be. So with that being said, if you have a buyer, that responsibility would be passed on to the buyer. And as you know, it's very difficult to, raise enough money or, save enough money to buy a house, but then have to pay, 2 or 3% to a realtor after that, just isn't feasible, so so that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Thank you, government. They should just stay the hell out of all of that.
So so I'm sure we have, Mike, I'm sure we have a lot of real estate agents listening. How did you then take that job, right, and then roll that into a skill set or a superpower to get started into multifamily? And what was that?
Great question, Mark. What I did is, I've been building the real estate sphere for so many years, for almost 20 years. And so I use that to my advantage. I've dealt with a lot of investors and high-end buyers, that need places to put their money. And that's really how I did it. is just staying in touch, with my sphere that I'm doing anyway with real estate, and just, asking them, hey, are you interested in it? The only way I'm doing it is telling every single person that I meet that I can, that I'm in multifamily, and that just really seems to help too. Even if they don't want to hear it, I enjoy telling it anyway, because I just love talking about it. And then, of course, social media, that has helped me quite a bit as well. So
Talk about what you've done in social media, Mike.
I'm no pro. I just, post helpful hints and things like that. The biggest thing with social media, I think, is just staying consistent. For me, just all of a sudden start posting about sending me money for multifamily. You got to educate your investors, and you got to educate the people out there, because they don't know what you're talking about. As you know, there's only a select few out there that actually understand what multifamily investing is, or
Right.
investing in these other spaces. People drive by an apartment complex and they just assume some big, huge corporation owns it, and that could be further from the truth.
Right.
It's just regular old guys like, me and my partners, that get together and put these things together. It's amazing.
Right.
It's really amazing.
No, it blows people away when they realize it's just a bunch of people getting together and making it happen. And and we teach how do you become the operator and the general partner in these things, and then you raise money for them. And my Warriors, by the way, Mark, I just checked the count. We're at 260,000 units now. We just got that. Yeah. It's I knew it was over 250, but we're 260. So and we're still gathering. So it's kind of crazy. I just literally found out this morning. It blew me away. But so we have a lot of listeners that haven't done anything yet. What's an action item that you could maybe talk about, dive deeper into a little bit, that they could start doing immediately?
First and foremost is just to get off your butt and take action. You preach that more than anybody in the world. I don't think that I've ever heard anybody say that more than you. You can join this program and you can put your money in, and you can study and read your books and watch every video in the world. But until you actually, step off that ledge and take action, you're never going to do anything. So that's my biggest take on it is, just taking that leap, just diving right in.
Now, I want to give the listeners here some golden nuggets on the taking action. And I know you mentioned capital raising, which probably the most common concern that we get is how do we raise capital? So I'd love to get into some specifics on that, because I know you said it takes a little bit of education because people don't know what's going on. So as you're raising capital, walk the listeners through, what does that process look like? Do you need to typically educate your network? Are they already familiar with multifamily? Like, what does that process look like from reaching out of like, hey, are you interested in a deal, to them putting in X amount of dollars into the deal?
Soup to nuts.
Yeah, well, I can just from the start is, when I talk about it, the excitement that comes out of me is just amazing. And a lot of these people that I've been dealing with, that I've already sold homes to and keeping in touch with and sending birthday cards or birthday messages and things like that, they already trust me, in a sense. So, that's just been a real positive thing for me.
Let me interject two things. One thing you just said, they see your passion. And so guys listening, if you think you could love this business, then that's what will come of it. Because when you love what you do, work is play, you never work another day in your life, and you are passionate about it. And people, they gravitate towards people that are passionate, that love what they do. It's just an energy. And so that's a really important point. And the second piece is that you had this list of people you sold houses to, you worked with, and everybody's got a Rolodex, like, call it a Rolodex, that dates me, but everybody's got a list of people, that they know. And the key that you said there is you stayed in touch with them. And so guys, when you're in this raising capital environment, you're going to create a list. And my Warriors have this incredible CRM that just came out right now to keep track of everybody. But you're going to create a list, And you're going to ping them occasionally. You're going to add value to them occasionally. Like you said, birthdays, okay, that's a no-brainer. But, sending them articles about why this business is fantastic, sending them articles about whatever geographic area you're focused on, things of that nature. And you're educating them and building that trust and respect. So anyway, I just wanted to hammer home the two things you just said. Please continue with your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just think it's mostly just educating them. I started to get a little bit frustrated with the social media, just because there was really no response at first. And then right now, we've been transferring over a lot of IRAs, transferring them over into self-directed. So they can invest with us. And, people don't have any idea that you can actually do that. So it's just educating them and showing them, hey, especially with the stock market just getting a little bit, squirrely on us. We're a little bit, 1.75 trillion loss in like a day or a couple of days. But anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, you just said something else too, and I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but I want to kind of hammer home some of the stuff you said. Now, when you started, you didn't have a lot of people paying attention. Has that changed? Yes, it actually has. It's more than satisfying to open up your Facebook or your Instagram, Messenger and say, hey, I want to learn more about this.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing I want people to realize is, when I started my podcast, I got 20 downloads. And then maybe 100 downloads, but it takes time. Or even our Facebook group's got like 55,000 people in it now, but it started with 5, okay? And it takes time, but don't get frustrated. The key to social media, and the Warriors have access to my course on this called Crushing It in Social Media, but the key to social media is being consistent and adding value. And you do those two things, success is inevitable. You will, and you don't have to have tens of thousands of people like I do. You get a couple hundred that respect you and trust you and you're adding value to them. When it's time to raise money, it's much, much easier than people think. But so anyway.
Yeah, scheduling dinners, lunches, Zooms, calendars, all that kind of stuff, My son plays travel sports, and that's been a really good avenue for me as well. You're standing around with these parents nonstop. I was just chatting with a guy yesterday, we're waiting on the game to start. I was like, hey, Seth, I don't even know if you fully understand what I do, but this is what I do. And he actually has a second home that they're not using now, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. And I just said to him, listen, sell the thing. Do you want to worry about renters or ACs or fixing toilets and chasing tenants and doing all that? No, sell it, let us take the money and hopefully double or triple it for you.
Yeah, listen, I want to add something because you keep touching on things, and I want to elaborate on them a little bit. Like you're at the freaking soccer game, and you want to ask the question. So what do you do? Why? Because you don't really. I mean, that's not the important thing you want. You want them to ask you what you do. Okay, and then of course you could do what you did is just say, I don't think you know what it is that I do. You could go right there, but that's a little stronger than just waiting for them to ask you.
Yeah, and sometimes, just depending on the deal, I want to get them in there quick. I don't have the time to kind of.
All right, fair enough. I tell my Warriors, if they hold still long enough, they better know what the hell you do. Period. End of story. And so that's awesome. And you want to have kind of an elevator pitch put together, okay? Yeah. And an elevator pitch is what you can say in the time it takes to ride an elevator. Something like, we're buying multifamily assets. There's a big kind of a meltdown right now. A lot of operators got this adjustable rate debt. There's incredible deals coming. And I'm always looking for partners, by the way. So if you know anybody, I'd love to chat with them. And that's it. That's an elevator. There's an example of an elevator pitch. It really is that simple. So.
Yeah, one of my partners actually just said this the other day, and I loved it. He said, rather than asking them if they're interested in the deal, is to walk up and ask them if they know anybody that's interested in the deal. Because that does two things. One, sparks their interest, and they might have a rich uncle, So there you go. I love it. And I actually used that yesterday when I did that. But nice. I do have, if I can, just real quick, one other success story. Our favorite restaurant in Charleston is right around the corner from our house. And we were up there, and we know people coming in and out of there all the time. And some of our friends came in and sat down at the bar next to us, and they were kind of chatting, and I was standing up, kind of stretching a little bit. And there was a gentleman kind of standing close to me behind me. And I turned around and recognized him, and he is our local Charleston Geico agent that is on TV, multiple times a day. And I said, "Hey, you're Tony from Geico." And he said, "Yes, I am." But anyway, we started chatting and started talking about flood insurance, because he's in insurance. And it just, it was an opportune time for me to mention that. And I said, "I'm actually multifamily too." And his eyes lit up as big as you can imagine. And he said, "You do that?" And I said, "Yeah, I do that." And he goes, "Well, I never met anybody in Charleston that does that." And I said, yeah. And he said, "Mike, I got to tell you something." He said, "I make more money in my multifamily investments than I do in an insurance game." And I actually just got him on one of our deals. So
fantastic. Just from standing at the bar.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
well, let's drill into a deal. Oh, sorry, Mark, I stole your thunder.
No, that's what I was going to ask. Connect the dots for us into your first deal. Now, how did this deal come? Was it from other warriors? Why did they bring you into it? Bring us into that now. Yeah.
Well, just being from Charleston, South Carolina, we have plenty of other warriors here. How I got into it is, I decided to pivot. And so I was just doing self-education on my own, watching podcasts, yours, and reading books, and just, really diving into it to figure out if it was something that I wanted to do. And one of your other warriors had started posting about it on Facebook that I've known for, 20 years. So I reached out to him, and we went out to lunch, and he brings me in a deal and puts it in front of me, wanting me to invest. And I said, no, man, this is awesome. And I'm happy for you. But really what I want to do is start putting these things together. And I want to be a part of this, So he said, yeah. And he said, what you really need is a coach. And so he started telling me about how he joined your program. And I said, well, Ian, I'm sitting at home watching Rod's podcasts already. So I want to know more about it.
That's hilarious.
We actually chatted about it, and I talked to another warrior, Derek, here locally, and we ended up going out to dinner. And I had interviewed with Mark, and he told me everything was good to go, sent me the paperwork, and we were at dinner just kind of chatting about it. And I was like, it's kind of expensive. I don't know if I want to do it. And the two of them looked at each other and just started laughing. And I was like, what are you laughing about? And they just said, Mike, don't even worry about the expense, because it means nothing. Because as long as you take action and jump into it, you're never even going to think about that expense ever again. So
that's awesome.
I jumped in. And so we actually, I got on there, and we got onto your warrior page, and I signed the documents right there on your Facebook Live.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Derek's a great guy. So's Ian. So let me, this is an opportune time for me to say, if you are interested in our warrior program, text the word crush to 72345. Again, text crush to 72345, to see, if it's a fit for you, and that's how you apply. But no, that's really cool. I didn't know that's how Derek didn't tell me that, but that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. But anyway,
so let's talk about the deal.
Yeah, I was just going to lead back into that. So thanks, Rob. Yeah, so Derek and I have now, gotten to know each other really well. And he was nice enough to ask me if I wanted to raise on one of his deals. And, I just, of course, jumped at the opportunity. And he kind of nicknamed me the silent sniper because of my first deal. I brought in 2.75 right off the rip.
Holy cow, buddy. Yeah. Congratulations. That's fantastic. Yeah. Now, let me interject something that I always do, just as a cautionary thing. You cannot just raise equity for deals, guys. You have to be involved, which I'm sure you are. You have to be involved in things like the due diligence, the asset management on those calls, and certainly with that high of a raise, you want to be very involved. And so, but you can't be quote unquote just a money raiser. You have to be active in the deal. I just want to throw that in as a caution. But that is fantastic. 2.7 on the brother. That is freaking awesome. And Derek's such a wonderful guy. I almost did a deal with him and kicking myself for not doing it actually. So I got talked out of it by my team and they killed it on that particular one. But anyway, so what is it? How many doors? Yeah. Oh, he's a wonderful, wonderful guy. So how many doors? Where is it? Where is it and all that?
It's 66 deals 66 doors in Columbia, South Carolina. So
nice.
An hour and a half away from us. So, like to keep it close so we can just jump in the car and run up there if we need to. So we're in and out, checking on things and making sure everything's on the up and up.
Sure.
Now this is fractured condos, which I know Rod has some concerns about.
That's the deal. That's the deal that Derek wanted me in on another one that was fractured condos, and I said no because it was fractured condos, and I'm still kicking myself with my right foot as I walk down the street because it was such a screaming deal. But anyway,
crushing that on them.
Which, by the way, for people that don't know, that's obviously it's like an apartment building, but you're buying specific units, so they're all over the place. And I know
let me elaborate.
Rod
let me
wants
elaborate.
To control the HOA, which is why please elaborate.
Yes.
That's
Let me elaborate. So back in the day, a lot of people took these apartment complexes and they converted them to condominiums so they could sell them off one at a time. And it was a great model until the crash. And then it wasn't a great model. And so a lot of these things failed, but they had sold some of the condos already. So you've got this complex that's condos now, but some of them but they're all owned by different people. And some of them have just some of them owned, and the rest are owned by a larger group, and so it can be kind of complicated. And if you don't control the HOA, they control what you pay for an HOA fee, and so there's some nuances with that, and that can make it more challenging. The financing is more challenging, and so. And there's pitfalls, because you don't have complete control in some cases, and certainly these people that own their own units can do pretty much whatever they want to. So, I think I explained it there. But
do you have control, Mike, in this deal?
As of right now, we have 51% of the units. So there's going to be a board meeting coming up, and we're hoping to take care of that right now in the first year.
Perfect.
Yeah, it needs that HOA needs a little bit of help, and thankfully we've got some great warriors on that with me. So
yeah, well, I'll tell you. What's interesting with an HOA, of course, you've got to take care of things like the insurance, common area maintenance, things of that nature, and you pool for all that and charge each condo for that. And there's a real kind of a shitstorm happening right now in Miami because that condo that fell down and they've greatly enhanced the inspection requirements, and there's huge assessments happening right now for condos, some of the condos in Miami. So this is another pitfall that you can have in that sort of a situation. But
actually that just happened here in Charleston, some waterfront condos downtown. They just kicked every single one of the homeowners out, and now they've got some of the biggest attorneys in town trying to sue them just for the way that they handled it,
Wow.
Well, that was one of the things,
man.
Yeah.
There, get you.
That's it. So what? Talk about Mark. Talk about the rents. Talk about the rents. Why you love the deal?
We love the deal because we've got some problem tenants in there that we are quickly handling that situation as well. We need to get them out so we can do some value add to these. But the rents were $900, and we're actually on track to getting very close to our exit rents in our first year already. So we're extremely excited about that.
And what are those? What are those exit rents?
We're hoping for 1,300 to 1,350. They're really they're really large 2-bedroom units. They're about 1,300 square feet with really big bedrooms. So you could have 2 parents and two kids in those. So a family of 4 could easily stay there.
Let me just elaborate on what that means, guys. Okay. So you've got basically $400 rent bumps likely. Okay. Times 66 units times 12. You annualize that increase in net operating income. Okay, so let's assume that's accurate. $316,800 is what that is annually. Let's say you're going to buy that thing at say what, a 7 or 8 cap. Okay, well, let's say that's what it's valued at, 7 or 8 cap. So let's say 7. I'll be a little divided by 0.07. That is a $4.5 million increase in value from those rents.
66.
Boom, baby. on a 66 freaking unit. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Love that one, man. That's a happy dance.
And it's really, man, I'm just excited for us that, as I am for our investors, is really what I want to do is just make them happy,
Of course.
So the fractured condos was kind of the one unique thing that we were going to talk about. The second thing is this next deal that you're working on, tax abatement deal, which I'm not sure if we've talked to anybody that's done this sort of deal before. So give us the story. What is this? What is tax abatement? Why is this a deal? Give us the background on this and why you're doing this deal.
Yeah, this one is with some of the best warriors that I know, and they're the ones that put this one together. And normally, we go for these value add units because, that's where a lot of the value is, to go in there and fix them up and do that. But with this play, it's actually the tax abatement, and the current owners are paying the full 100% on the taxes every single year. So what we're doing is actually putting people in affordable housing just like the government wants us to do. So we're actually really not even moving the rents on this. We're just going to go from the full 100% taxes to this tax abatement, which is going to lower our taxes down to about 10% per year. So right there, the value that you're adding is incredible. And, we're doing a few little things with the washer and dryers. The current owners aren't charging for those. So this one's 168 units. So you multiply all those units times the rent for washer and dryers, and there's some more value right there. So we're doing some really exciting things just to kind of, add more value.
Do you know the dollar amount of the savings in that tax abatement piece? Do you happen to know?
I don't have the.
All right. I was just going to do the math on it if you did. No big deal.
Yeah, I wanted that, and gosh, I'd feel really silly if it wasn't right, but I want to say it's around 500 and something thousand.
That much? How big's the asset?
168.
Okay. Wow. $500,000. Wow. That's awesome.
Well, same thing. The math on that, if you take $500,000 divided by 7 cap, 0.07, that's $7.1 million in value add, and you don't even have to do anything to the property.
Yeah, and even if it's less than that, it's still better than a sharp stick in the eye, right? Yeah. So that's fantastic. Now I know you're also getting involved in senior housing, like I am. Is that?
Yeah, that is something I'm super excited about. I'm not involved with it fully right now, but Roberto, that you just had on your podcast a couple of days ago, him and I are on another deal, and we've been chatting a little bit just about it. When he told me about the returns that he was getting with these senior living deals, I was plowed. I was like, "Is this legal? Like, how are you guys doing this? It's amazing."
Yeah. No, they're incredible.
When you really put 2 and 2 together, and if you're getting $6,000 a month for a room, versus $2,000, you can see where that value is. But of course, you've got to pay a whole entire staff, and things are a lot different there. But the returns are just great.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely the key with senior housing, and we've talked about it now a couple times on the show because I'm going to be raising money for a deal here very shortly. And I mean, there's 80 million baby boomers getting old, and I'm the start of that because I'm 65, and there's 10,000 people a day turning 65 in this country. So this thing's got a long runway, okay? And so it's very, very exciting. It's something I'm very excited about and getting into. And I was going to get into it a decade ago. And I got my administrator's license here for assisted living in Florida, did the 3-day course, and I shifted gears, but I didn't end up ultimately doing it. But a lot of facilities went bankrupt in COVID. And so there's opportunity there to pick up some of these assets, which is, what Roberto and I talked about as well. But
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's a little personal for me as well. My grandmother had a stroke and ended up in a home because my grandfather had passed away. And she was super lucky because my aunt actually ended up getting a job right in the facility at the little cafe so
Oh,
she could see her and spend time with her. But it's just, it's a personal thing, just the thought of them sitting up there and alone. And, if you've got people coming to you, it's a great thing, but I just would like to help people if I can. It's
well,
important.
I don't think you can get into the business if you shouldn't get into the business unless you love the elderly, which I do, just like children. And so I think that is a critical piece because, and in that business, the most important piece is the operator. And I would not want to operate one. I'd want to, we're aligning with very, very good operators because,
Correct.
you want to make sure they're well taken care of. So, yeah.
Yeah. I would say that's probably the biggest thing. When we
It is.
started,
No, it is absolutely the biggest. Absolutely the
yeah,
biggest thing.
yeah, when I was chatting with him about it, that was my very first question was, how are your operators? And, do they have the capacity to take on, more units? And, like, how well do you know these people? And they have a lot of confidence in them. So that's great.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the biggest piece is the staff, and
Yeah.
that it's not a high paid staff. So the operator needs to be good with creating a culture, identifying people that care about elderly, and validating them and praising them, these employees, and keeping them engaged and motivated and all that. So it's a whole lot more than just a paycheck, which is why you really want somebody that knows how to do all that.
Yeah. And even with the tax abatement deal, helping out people with affordable housing,
Sure.
especially in this area. I mean, to try to live in the Charleston area is just absolutely insane. You can't find anything, reasonable. I'm looking at these complete dumps online and they're, $2,000 a month. And I wouldn't even want to step foot in these places. And the same thing with our deal in Columbia, we're helping out some vets, so it really does make me feel good. You're
Yeah.
doing good.
And by the way, just one thing I've taken away from all the things that you're saying is that like getting creative, right? You've mentioned fractured condos, tax abatement, potentially senior living. If you were just focused on traditional multifamily and just value add renovating units, you might have missed out on all these opportunities. And so just a gold nugget for people listening is actually
Yeah.
learning all the different ways that you can do deals is such a big opportunity. And I'd love for you to just project that out a little bit more for the people listening of if you continue at this current pace, to your quote unquote financial freedom, how long do you think it'll take you to get there? What do you think that kind of looks like over the next few years or whatever it is?
Yeah, just to say something, about that. I've only been focusing on multifamily and really marketing myself as that. So it's really going to throw all my followers and people for a curveball, when and if I do end up in a senior living deal, just having to start to re-educate and doing all that. But I mentioned to Rob before, 2024 was a bit of a rough year for me. I had to have three invasive spinal surgeries. With that, it kind of laid me up for 2024. I'm rolling and ready to go now, feeling great. Can't wait to come down to the meetup, the Warrior meetup in the end of May. But I'm knocking on the door and doing pretty well. And I feel like if I can hit, right around 2,000 units, somewhere around there, I can start to back off a little bit and just kind of, reinvest and just really work that positive cash flow that I'm preaching to everybody else. You got to put your money where your mouth is. You're going to preach these deals and try to get people to, give you their hard earned money. You better be putting your money into it too, and having faith in these deals the way I look at it.
Yeah, love it, love it. We've got a Warrior Only event coming up with hundreds of Warriors, May 31st and June 1st here in Sarasota. Those are a lot of fun.
And by the way, just as a side note, for people that are not paying attention, and you tell me if you agree with this, Mike, the last 2024 and 2023, Rod, you probably will agree, probably the hardest 2 years in real estate since 2008. 2026 and beyond, it's only going to get easier. There's going to be less inventory. Rents are going to start going up. And so, when you say you're projecting out a few years, you're probably not even thinking about that. But I don't know about you, but it has been the hardest time, I feel like, to make money in this industry, just across the board, single, multi, everything. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely would. Yeah, it's especially with these, everything going on, people, I keep getting these excuses. I just want to hold my money. I don't want to do anything with it because I'm paranoid, and they think that by giving me money, that the money just disappears. And I'm like, if you actually give me the money, wait till you see what we do with it. Don't be scared. I just like to say, don't be afraid of something that you don't understand,
Are you okay with listeners reaching out to you, buddy?
Yes, sir.
All right, where and how can they do that?
Yeah, you can reach out to me at my email. It's Mike at Mike Olson. That's OLSONRE.com. Mike Olson RE.com. And I am always open to anybody that is interested in talking about your program, because for me, it absolutely 100% was the best decision I've ever made in my life. And I'm not just saying that.
Oh, that's kind of you to say that, brother.
Yeah, it is very kind of you. For me that I never thought would be there, and I just couldn't be happier about it. So join the program.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I appreciate that, bud. Yeah, text CRUSH to 72345 if you're interested in applying. Well, listen, Mike, I appreciate you coming on. This has been a lot of fun. You've added tremendous value. We've talked about topics that we really haven't talked about before, so it really has been informative. Thanks, buddy, and we'll see you at the end of May.
Yes, sir. I look forward to it.
All right, thanks. See you later, guys.
Take
care.